Hello, oh, whoa, look at that. I mean, I've said it before, my loves, I've said it before, but the hellscapes in Doom games, particularly in this one, are vastly superior. Vastly superior to all of the other environments that occur. Some of the other environments are great. I love the fact that Doom Eternal has this variety of... oh, look at him. That has this variety of different conditions and environments, but the hellscapes are just... look at that. It's phenomenal. This is Necrovol, by the way, the city of the damned, where all of the damned souls are churned up and turned into Argent energy. It's very, very cool. But hello, loves. Hello, and welcome back to Let's Play Doom Eternal. Now, you may have noticed I'm recording this audio in post. The reason I'm doing that is because this game gets so hard from this point on. So difficult. That demon is fantastic. I love it. I love the fact that that's just an ambient detail. It's not really anything as such. You don't do anything with it. It's just an ambient detail. This game gets so hard from this point on that you need to concentrate. I certainly need to concentrate because I'm not very good at video games. So I have to record this in post. There are certain areas in this playthrough that just defeated me, and I couldn't do a voiceover while I was playing it. I had to just sit down and concentrate, particularly at any point where the bloody Marauder turns up, and he does once or twice in this bit. Look at this silly little puzzle here. This took me a while actually to sort of figure out. I wasn't quite sure what it was asking me to do. But it's one of those things that you just overcomplicate when you look at it. It's actually really easy. It's really bloody easy. You just need to wait for the thing to come down and then just latch on to the ceiling. It's really easy. There we are. And then you just jump through the hole. I was overcomplicating that wildly. This is one of the areas, I believe, where the Marauder turns up. And I know I've already spent a video complaining about the Marauder. I won't too much in this one, I promise, because I actually really love this level. Necrovol is great. Necrovol is very redolent of old Doom games. It's very redolent of Doom 3, actually. Doom 3 with its dingier, darker atmosphere, with its own hellscapes, which are absolutely beautiful. Sadly, you know, I think I may be wrong in this, but having read the background, I think that Doom 3 is the only game that Doom Eternal doesn't take into account as canon. Doom 3 is sort of its own ulterior universe, I do believe, whereas all the other Doom games are referenced and accounted for directly. Oh, there we are, Necrovol. So we did get a little bit of a vague data entry here. Let's have a look. Oh, look at it. I want to live there. I want that as my house. So, the city of Necrovol was built in hell by the combined efforts of the makers and the Sentinel engineers, designed to produce a continuous flow of Argent energy. Constructed of stone and fell steel on a foundation of uncounted corpses, the sprawling fortress funnels a constant stream of victims towards Calabas, the sightless judge. This ancient demon is a rare breed, unable to communicate or move without great difficulty. It exists as an overseer of sorts, awaiting as cages packed with the recently slain are brought before it, determining which souls are candidates for the Argent process. Operating not unlike a large-scale slaughterhouse. Nice. Necrovol is divided into many sections. The most immediately accessible portions contain the Abaddon Pit, an enormous chasm where victims are herded beyond Calabas. The Argent-worthy souls are directed deeper into the Black Fortress. Those who he renders unfit are discarded as waste, their tortured souls thrown into the burning sludge of the blood swamps. Lovely. We'll be meeting Calabas. Calabas is actually an actual creature we're going to meet very, very soon. But I just love this whole concept, Necrovol. I think it's great. The notion, there's something about industry in hell that I really, really like, where it's like pulped bodies and filtered damned souls. There's something about the commingling of the mythic and the utilitarian that I really, really, really like. It kind of echoes, I mean, thematically it echoes what's going on Earth, doesn't it? Where you have the UAC, is that right? I always get mixed up between the UAC, Wayland Yutani, you know, all of these evil corporations. It's the UAC, where the UAC are trying to create a very similar situation on Earth. Yeah, that's a quad damage up there, I do believe. That means there's going to be an arena in here. Oh fuck! Oh, it's one of them. Cyber Demon equivalent. I don't think it is called a Cyber Demon. I think that's called a Reaper, isn't it? or something like that. It's not a cyber demon. Let's put it that way. Very fetching purple eyes the Doom guy has when he picks up the quad damage. I don't think he would appreciate my flattery at all. He's not that type. Ah! Ah! Bloody cacodemons. Ah, quad damage is just delightful, isn't it? It's certainly it's a holdover from Quake actually. The original, obviously the original Doom. I don't think the original Doom has a quad damage thing. No, it doesn't. It's a holdover from Quake, that one. Which Quake is one of ID Software's dead franchises at this point. Despite the fact that it was as significant as Doom was, you know? It was the first 3D first-person shooter. I mean, I love the first two Quake games. Quake 1 and Quake 2 are absolutely phenomenal. Even though Quake 1 is technically, its single player is kind of unfinished, you can feel the DNA of Quake in almost everything that came after. You can certainly feel it here. You can certainly feel the influence here. I mean, Quake takes the satanic imagery of Doom and translates it into Lovecraftian, so it's more sort of like elder things and, you know, stuff from beyond the stars and extra-dimensional whataboutery. And Quake 2 is completely different. I mean, Quake 2 doesn't have any supernatural elements at all. It's totally science fiction.
Here the humans arrive from Earth.
Oh, God, I love his voice.
Selected for the process.
Optimus Prime there. Being as eloquent as ever. I'm getting a funny feeling, you know, that this game is going to end with Samuel there, Optimus Prime, double-crossing us. Because we kind of double-crossed him at the end of Doom 2016, you know? When we turned off the Argent facility. I think he's going to fuck us over. Just a thought, just a feeling, but I think he might, you know. Given that often when he pipes up, when he's describing stuff to you, he talks about the elegance and the beauty of the process. Oh, we're going down there, are we? Alright, let's go. Into the pit, as it were. Ah, this is the kind of thing I love, where there's like the satanic imagery mingled with machinery and industry and devices. I love this. Another game that does this very, very well is an old game now from the early 32-bit era called Shadow Man. In Shadow Man, there's a metaphysics whereby there's an afterlife called Deadside. And Deadside is where everyone goes when they die. It doesn't matter what they believe, it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person, you end up in Deadside when you die. And Deadside is this vast wasteland. But in the video game of Shadow Man, there is this facility there called the Asylum. And the Asylum is very like this. It's a giant processing facility, basically, for damned souls, where pain is made a matter of culture, religion, and industry. It's amazing. Look at this guy. Bloody hell. Baron of Hell. Again, another beautiful redesign. I love what they've done with the Barons. I love them in Doom 2016 as well, but they're better in this game. That's for damn sure. That wasn't a pun, by the way. You know, the damn sure thing. That was totally unconscious. I don't do puns deliberately. They just happen naturally. And sometimes I'll take credit for them, sometimes I won't. Okay. I like this stuff as well, where you have to use the sort of ambient or natural mechanisms to make your way around. That's kind of fun. Meh. So, where do we go and what do we do? We can't reach that yet. And that button does something, I'm just not quite sure what. I'll figure it out in a moment. After wandering around for God knows how long, I will figure it out. Ah, there we are. You see, I do get it eventually. It just takes me a while sometimes. There we go. Look at that. How convenient is that? There's a hollow in the portcullis so you can shoot the button again. So you've got to do this really quickly, otherwise everything resets, basically. So you've got to smack it. It didn't work. Wonderful. So what you've got to do, shoot the portcullis, smack it, get out, use it, get up. There's a lot of that in Necrovol, where everything is very specifically timed. None of it's that difficult. There aren't any puzzles that are, like, massively difficult.
Needs Earth and its souls.
It's so
nice. The culling allows her people to replenish their resources and survive. As you save your home, you put hers in peril.
There's a slight overstatement that Samuel has that I love.
The sightless judge.
Ah, yes.
Who is fit to begin the soul extraction process. The rest will be discarded to the blood swamps.
So there's basically a utopian metaphysics going on here. Even given that we're dealing with the literal hell, with like an eternity of suffering, there's kind of a utopian project at work that's been facilitated by effectively God. There's Calabas, that big sort of Lovecraftian thing. We've got to shoot its eyes. There it is. That's Calabas, and these are its eyes. He's very cool. I like this as well. The fact that they introduce unique demons, I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's something that a lot of previous Doom titles were kind of missing. And I love it. I love that. Instead of just recycling enemies, it gives you something totally unique. And we are doing damage, it's just taking a while. This gets really hard as well. As you start to destroy the eyes, Calabas starts to lower the platforms. There's one. There's another. Look, the platforms are lowering, and also starts to summon in demons, including this pain elemental who's empowered, which is actually really tricky. I love this notion as well, the notion of the empowered demon. So this demon slew someone else who was online, and that's why it's empowered in my game. I think that's fantastic. Blech. I mean, I will do a little bit of complaining later on, no doubt, when the Marauder turns up. But please bear in mind that, for the most part, I really love this game. I think it's very, very, very successful. I think they've done a great job updating the core dynamic of Doom 2016, embellishing it and making it more than it otherwise was. I think they've done a great job with the mythology, which is not something you'd necessarily credit a Doom game with. It's just that in some areas, in some very tiny, minor areas, I think maybe they were a bit too ambitious. I think maybe they over-egged the pudding a little bit. They introduced a bit too much that maybe doesn't fit entirely with the ethos or the rhythm of the game. And the Marauder's kind of the epitome of that. There's Calabas.
Now, while it's exposed.
While it's exposed. I love that. Samuel's voice is gorgeous. Heavily modulated, obviously. There's Calabas. And off he goes. Big brain. Now he's dead. He's just some chunky kibbles now. Yeah, this kind of area is brilliant. This is the kind of innovation I want to see and see more of. I think it is absolutely wonderful. Now, I have a moment here where I'm trying to search for the Calabas entry that we got, and I can't find it anywhere. And in the end, I just give up. I can't find where it is, but I'm sure I'll read it in a later entry or something. There's the Bloody Marauder, who I don't like. Oh yeah, those things. The Servants of the Khan Maker. We'll be coming across a couple of them very soon. I've got a cup of tea, by the way. It's not blood or anything like that. I'm not getting into the, the spirit of things quite that earnestly at this point. Sorry, I just got distracted because my cat Rufus is watching me film this. And in a very, very, in that way that cats stare at you that's kind of suspicious. It's very much that. It's very much that. I don't know what I've done to piss her off. Probably something, You sort of can't help it with cats. Anywho, back to the game. So yeah, Necrovol has got this whole culture around it, and I love it. I absolutely love it to bits. Now what does this do? Ah, okay. That was actually a very clever way of getting through there, because there's a very nasty trap as you can see. Which I don't take advantage of, foolishly. I could have just crushed all these guys under that mincing machine out there, but no. I decided to take them on instead. Because... Ow! Oh, I didn't see him. Which I suppose is entirely the point, isn't it? Oh. The way they stagger back when you punch them always makes me laugh. You see, you could just lead them onto there and just crush them. If that's what you fancy, my loves. So, what have we got? What have we got? I'm not going for a completionist run here. I'm really not. God, I love this stuff. The imagery in this game is fantastic. I would love, actually, a sort of slower paced, like, maybe, you know, like a Bethesda-style RPG, when they did them well, which was ages ago, based in this universe. That'd be great fun. If you know, maybe if they gave it to BioWare, it would be great, because Bethesda can't do a decent RPG these days for toffee, which is a great shame. Oh yeah, mastery token. That means I can bypass one of the trials for fully upgrading one of my weapons. That's kind of cool. Praetor suit and the map. Very useful. Very useful. I mean, if you are going for like a completionist run, this game gives you so much to play with, even more so than Doom 2016. There is so much to discover. It's great fun. It's great fun. Not really for me though. I'm not interested in this game in doing everything and getting everything and whatnot. Ah, okay. So, where do we go from here? Oh, that's a difficult jump. I love, look at them, packed to the gunnels. Damned souls packed to the gunnels. And there's a bit of a fight going on down there. So I'd assume we go through here. So here we go. This is a section with the Marauder. And you'll see, again, you will see what I mean when he turns up. How he just stops the pace of the combat dead. I can understand why they wanted to introduce maybe a different element. I get that. But when he turns up, it doesn't do that. It doesn't change the pace. It stops it stone dead. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. You've got this really frenetic, chaotic stuff going on. And then suddenly this very out-of-place enemy turns up, where suddenly you've got to think very tactically. And you've got to concentrate on him while all this other shit is going on around you. I mean, another area where really they've over-egged the pudding just a little bit is with the alternate firing modes. You just don't have time when you're in the midst of combat to use them because of the nature of the combat. It's so frenetic, it's so mad. You just don't have time. So, and you don't need them. You actually don't need the different combat modes. They're just there for the sake of themselves, really. There's nothing that impressive about them. You can just use all the way through the bog standard firing modes and you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. They don't bring that great an advantage, and so one does wonder if there's a point to them at all, you know? Or if it's just a case of maybe over-egging the pudding a little bit, maybe putting a little bit too much complexity in a game that relies on its own simplicity for its appeal, you know? It's certainly a question, it's certainly something to take into consideration. It leaves me wondering what they'll do for the next Doom game. That there will be another Doom game is without doubt. On the next gen consoles, without doubt. I have absolutely no doubt at all. But you know, for my money, if they do another Doom game on the next gen consoles, they should not follow this particular mythology. This mythology should be done with Doom Eternal, yeah? Maybe they should go back to Doom 3, to that slightly darker, slower, horror-based style, or something like that. Play into the science fiction horror tropes a little bit more. I mean, you know, this series is nominally accounted as being science fiction horror, but come on. it's not horror, is it? It's that there's nothing disturbing or scary about Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. It's too good-natured for that. It's too fun. It's too rip-roaring and ridiculous for that. It just doesn't have the... It doesn't have the darkness at its soul, you know, to be a horror game. It doesn't want to be. It's not even trying to give you a horror experience, you know? Except in the most sort of superficial comic book way. You know, in the same way that an EC comic book would. So maybe they should return to that. There's the potential here. The mythology's got that going for it. So I don't see why they shouldn't. Then again, who knows what they could do with this, now that they've gone down the route of, you know, incorporating angels and angelic and divine realms. Who knows what they could do. The thing is, I mean, I already know I've already played this game all the way through and recorded all my sessions, so I know the ending of this game. And it does leave itself open for a potential sequel, but it's kind of you know, it's ambiguous. I don't think they're gonna do another game in this mythology. Hey up! Oh, it's you. Ah! I do love the archviles in this game. They're big. They're really, really big. They're much bigger and beefier than they used to be. Really, I need to put this gun down. I haven't got any ammo for it. Yeah, the Archviles were always one of my favourites in Doom 2, so it's really lovely to see them make a comeback in this one, especially since they weren't in Doom 2016. You had those other creatures that filled in for them, the Summoners, which are not in this game, surprisingly. Okay, so where do we go? I think we go that way. Yeah, I'm just going to have a quick peek around, see if there's another way to go. So that brings you out there. That's where we came in. That's the way we came in, so we don't want to go that way, that's for sure. Look at all this, these sort of engines of death and mutilation. I love it. It's just the sort of elaboration of hell I really, really love. The fact that it's all geared towards bodily mutilation, sadism, the infliction of pain and suffering, and yet there's also this utilitarian edge to it where it's all engines and machines. I find that very appealing for some reason. There's an aesthetic there that I like. Which is unsurprising. I mean, if you read my Born in Blood series of short story collections, plug by the way, it has a concept very much like that, which is called Aberice, which is redolent of hell, but it's not hell. You'd have to read it to find out, but it aesthetically very like this, very like this. We are close to where the Marauder turns up. You'll see when it does turn up, because of course it kills us, you know. I cut out a couple of areas where it murdered us, and I was very glad that I wasn't recording the voiceover at that point, because all you would have heard is I also like the fact that even within this one environment, oh look at this, there's a bit of a gauntlet to run here. Within Necrovol, there's a variety of tones and moods. Ah, we fucked that one up. Completely fucked that one up. Yeah, we do need to get that way. I'm just figuring it out here, obviously. Okay, so hurt, and hurt, and yeah, there we go.
Must be torture. The flesh tender. Once enough pain has been inflicted, and the spirit broken, the soul is ready for the extraction process.
I just like to hear him talk. Who's the actor who plays Samuel? Is it anyone known? Is it like a someone known in voiceover or video game circles, or is it just someone who's got a very beautiful voice? I don't know. Ow! Well, I screwed that one. Uh-oh, a buff totem. That's not good. Again, I just noticed one of those skips that only occurs within the recordings of Doom Eternal. Really strange, really odd that. I don't know quite why that happens, whether it's something to do with the freneticism of Doom. Oh yeah, that's not going to work, so I just wasted my BFG shot there. That was foolish. I don't know whether it's just it can't keep up with the pace of it or what, but it only happens with Doom. It's very strange. It's not something I'm doing either. It's not like an edit or anything like that. It just happens. It skips. This is something I'd like to see more of. The different versions of the established enemies. So the fact you've got the classic Mancubi in this game and also the cyber Mancubi. I like that. I really like that. Okay, so we are battling through the Soul Factory. These were always my favourite levels in the previous Doom games as well, the ones that were set in Hell, or where Hell was bleeding over into the material world. I love that shit. I absolutely love that stuff. I mean, in the previous Doom games, rendering like realistic cities and settlements and whatnot was pretty difficult because of the limitations of the engines. But now they can do it fine, as we've seen, you know. There were some beautiful city sequences early on in this game. Absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I've noticed the general sentiment with Doom Eternal seems to be it's a fantastic game. It's a really, really good game. But it's not quite as unambiguously successful as Doom 2016. Doom 2016 had a certain purity about it because it was so simple. Whereas Doom Eternal takes that simplicity and extenuates it. It sort of ladles on globs of complexity, some of which is successful, some of which is a bit questionable. But overall, I really appreciate what's been done. I appreciate the ambition. I appreciate the trying something new. It's just one or two things. Just one or two little flies in the ointment, if you like. I tried to see if there's anything through there, but there isn't. But yeah, maybe they could produce a spin-off series, like an RPG, which is a bit slower, because I would like to take the time to experience these cultures and to explore these environments a bit more outside of this frenetic pace, you know? And they've set up the basis for it in this game. The mythology that's underneath this very fast-paced action game is really fun and quite complex. There's a lot of stuff. You know, when you go right back to the very beginning of it with the Makers and Urdak and all that stuff. Here he is, here's the bastard. Yeah, don't like him at all. Gets right on my tits. Look. While you're trying to deal with him, you've got an empowered demon that's really quick. So what he demands of you, that pace, that focus, you can't do. You literally can't do it because there's something else that's as difficult nearby. I really just dislike that demon. It doesn't feel right to me. The only way I've found of dealing with him is basically going on the defensive for a little while, taking out everything around him so there's no distractions and nothing that will come up behind you, and then you just have to focus on him. The worst thing he does, and I mean the flat out worst thing he does, is when he summons that bloody dog thing. That really is the step too far with the Marauder. It's ridiculously annoying. There we go. That took me a couple of tries, I will admit. That took me a couple of tries to get that right. And the only reason I did it is because this arena is actually quite quiet. It's not one of the more difficult ones. There's one later on where he's a right bastard, you know? Still, none of them have been as difficult as Taras Nabad. No demon drops. Ooh, that's one to make it more difficult. Ooh, that would be horrible. If the demons didn't drop power-ups, that would be horrible. Anything? Nope, don't think so. Maybe? Maybe? No. Nah. If they were going to include the Marauder, they should have kept him as a boss. They should have kept him as a unique enemy, rather than throwing him in willy-nilly everywhere. I mean, he's got the background and the ethos to make that viable. You know, the fact that he's probably the... You know how it was talking about earlier on in the background, it was talking about how one of the Knights of Urdak betrayed the Knights and gave them over to hell. That's him. It's generally assumed that that is the Marauder. Okay, fuel the eternal flame. Translation from the Korax tablets. The transformation of mortal creature into demon is a laggard and gradual process, one that can take eons to transpire without the catalyst of Argenta intervention. The victim is left to maunder in the Shadowland for years uncounted, where over ageless time they transform into demons. During their nightmarish journey, the ethereal soul slowly drains from the body, and in the dark realm, the substance of mortal life is manifest as matter. It gathers in pools of volatile aura found all over hell. Demonkind call these pools the Well, and use them to invigorate themselves for battle. It is from this aura that the essence is formed. By melding it with wraith energy, that which lights the darkened hall and sets the sentinel sword ablaze, the essence is founded. The combining of these primal energies creates Argent energy. A power source so, and now just wait for me to, there we go. A power source so potent, so incalculably formidable, that it has consumed the Argenta and driven us on to greater influence than was ever possible with Wraith power alone. Now that's interesting. So the demons are people. That introduces a very interesting sort of undercurrent, does it not? The fact that the demons are made from mortal souls, from all over reality, not just human, but from all over reality. That's really cool. So hell, that's great, isn't it? That's very redolent of the old Doom box art. Very deliberately, I feel. So the demons in this mythology, hell is entirely utilitarian. It is a giant processing plant for Argent energy, which is what maintains heaven and all the realms beyond that have found Argent energy. So that brings up a very sincere kind of moral quandary, doesn't it? I mean, do you have the right to destroy hell, end the flow of Argent energy, and potentially bring about the collapse, the apocalypse even, of not just Earth, not just Urdak, but multiple different realities across time and space? Interesting, eh? Of course, I mean, I think I know what the Doom guy's answer would be to that. I have a funny feeling I know what the Doom guy's answer to that would be. Which is, well, obviously. In point of fact, he wouldn't even speak, would he? He'd just start blasting things with his shotgun. Of course that's what you do. Wouldn't it be great if at the end it turns out that the Doom guy is basically the Lucifer of this mythology? The fact that he brings about the collapse of heaven and the destruction of all reality, you know? He's actually a cipher for ultimate apocalypse. That would be great fun, wouldn't it? I don't like the fact it's giving me BFG ammo. That usually bodes ill. That's very Hellraiser, the corpse impaled on the twisty thing. They look like they do something, or like they once did something in an old version of the game, don't they? Maybe they did, maybe they were parts of a puzzle. They don't in this one. Hey up, something's going on. Hello! Oh, it's one of you. Ah! Ah! Like, this sniper mode for the cannon is a really good example of what we were talking about earlier, you know? Where there are modes that don't really have much application. You know, there are certain areas where obviously it does, like in when there are puzzles and stuff, but it looks like they've introduced those synthetically to make the mode more viable. because there isn't really a point where it's useful in combat, because the combat's just too frenetic to sit around and camp like you could in previous Doom games. If you try to sit around and camp and snipe enemies in most of the arenas in this game, you're just going to die. It's a bit redundant, you know? Oh, Pinky. What a shame. Well, actually, that wasn't a Pinky, was it? That was a Spectre. Which is an invisible Pinky. I mean, for the most part, I think the new demons are great. I love the new demons. Those serpentine ones are fantastic. Love them to bits. Very interesting new dynamic they bring about as well. Hello! Oh, gold. What are these guys called? Are they called Death Knights? The Cybernetic Knights? They are fantastic, but they are bastards. They're so difficult. Very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. Oh, and here's one of the new monsters I really like. The guy on his sled. Again, often very tricky in conjunction with other enemies. He's actually really tough, so he survived that BFG shot. Hey! There we go. I do love them, the Doom Hunters. Very, very cool enemies. Very cool enemies. Aha! Oh, so I suppose we could have gotten the sword out during this battle, but we didn't. It's fine. Whoa! Bloody hell, what was that? What was firing at us? Not that it... Oh, it's another one of them! Okay! Aha! Aha! Gotcha! Yeah, they cannot take the sword, I'm telling you. That's so cool. So it is it's an industry and a metaphysics based entirely in abjection and despair. And not only that, but it's engineered by God. Brilliant. I love that so much. And in that regard, I've got a lot of time for Doom Guy, because he is trying to break the metaphysics apart, because he sees it as fundamentally unjust. And he's absolutely unambiguous in that. I mean, Samuel tries to argue him out of destroying the Argent energy flow from Mars to Earth at the end of the last game. And he doesn't hesitate, he just does it. He just does it, regardless of what the consequences are for Earth, you know? He's got a wider ranging plan, you know? He wants to end it all. He wants to destroy Hell, kill the demons, and end the Khan Maker for her betrayal of the mortal realms. It's really cool. He reminds me a little bit of characters like that anime character Violence Jack and Devilman and whatnot, you know, where they are uncompromisingly violent in the pursuit of what could ostensibly be seen as a noble end. Okay, so what do we do and where do we go? By the way, the soundtrack in Necrovol is incredible. Not only is the music amazing, very redolent of the original Trent Reznor soundtrack for Quake, but also the ambient sounds of suffering, of screams, of moans, industry, bodies being pulped and sifted. Love it to bits. Like I said, I want to live here. Give me a dukedom over this particular area of Hell and I will be phenomenally happy. Until Doom Guy comes along, of course, and then murders me elaborately. No, I love these sections of Hell. I think it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The amount of work they put into the architecture, the design work, is unfathomable. It is unfathomably cool. Okay, looks like there's only one way to go, my loves. And it's down! Way! There's Necrovol. Done. Necrovol. It's a great name, by the way. Oh, Necrovol Part 2. Okay. Ah, yes. This is great. I do like this level a lot. The maps are... Doom has always had this thing where the maps are just gorgeously designed. If you look at the topography and the layouts of the original Doom games, the maps are sublimely designed. They are master crafted works of video game design, so that they are elaborate and have loads of puzzles and whatnot, but the flow never stops. It's very clever. It's very clever. Since then, they've actually become more linear. I mean, even though there's now extra dimensions, like the original Doom games couldn't go up or down, not easily anyway. Now there are lots of added dimensions. They've actually become a bit more simple. There's far less in the way of backtracking, for example, in this game. This game is just straightforward, you know. You aim forward, you hardly ever go back. Look at this, God, they've really... The designers really went to town, didn't they? Just like, what depictions of pain can we come up with? Quite a few, as it turns out. Quite a few. I love it. I love it to bits. Okay, I don't know quite why I stopped here. Was I making a cup of tea or something? It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Ascend the soul spire. Oh, look at that!
Inside that citadel is the soul extraction chamber.
It's
We
gorgeous.
must make our way through into the top, where the pure Argent energy is exported directly to Earth.
Wow. Yeah, of course, it's not unguarded. Although it's interesting that most of the guards here are mortal. Or semi-mortal, anyway. Hello. What's that? Is that a cacodemon or is that a pain elemental? It's a pain elemental. One of my favourite redesigns in this game. Always loved them in Doom 2, love them even more in this game, they're brilliant. I would have liked to have gotten a kill there, but you know. If I'd have done that, I'd have fallen to my death. Listen to that soundtrack. That's classic Doom, that is. With a good dollop of Quake on top of it. They should resurrect Quake. They should bring Quake back. And they should go back to the first game's mythology, the Lovecraftian stuff, the extra-dimensional stuff. They should recreate Quake 1 and Quake 2. That would be fabulous. That would be so cool. I mean, Quake 2, I love Quake 2 a lot, but it suffered because of its proximity to Half-Life. It came out very shortly before Half-Life, and with all the best will in the world, Half-Life is just the superior game. Like, on every level. It's the superior first-person shooter. That really was the beginning of the end for the Quake franchise, to be honest. Hey, oh, there's a cacodemon over there. You're gonna have to deal with him. Because when Half-Life came out, there was just no space anymore. There was no space for Quake, and that's a real shame. It's a real shame. I loved the background of Quake 2 with the Strogs, the alien mechanisms that incorporate biomatter into themselves. Oh, I fucked that one up. Ah, down into the pits. It's alright. It's fine. It's quite forgiving with its drops, is this game. Quite forgiving. Yeah, there's some lovely imagery in Quake 2 of human bodies being like pulped, sifted and reconfigured to be incorporated into different configurations, biomechanical configurations. It's really cool. Whoop! Do I do it this time? Yay! Made it. There is something down there. Can you see it? Nah, can't be arsed. There's a doings transpiring. There are things to kill, me loves. I tell you what, the animation models are insanely good. I mean, I can't wait to see what they do with the next Doom game in that regard, because it's hard to see now how they could improve on them. Hey up, there's a really bonkers Revenant after me here. Have they been, like, upgraded, the Revenants? They look a bit different down here. I think they might have been, you know. That's quite cool, the fact that the enemies change and evolve as you go on. I like that. I really like that. It's a shame there weren't more portions like that bit earlier, you know, when you control the Revenant. They could have done something similar to that with some of the other demons. That would have been fun. I'd have liked to have controlled a Mancubi at some point. BFG, yay. It's always lovely. Ah, who cares? Doesn't matter. Who cares at this point? Just get whatever, you know? I mean, some of this shit that seems so oh, this is so cool. That seems so redundant is from the multiplayer.
Your people are made to suffer.
Yes.
Processed souls for the Khan Maker's world. I assure you, this could have been avoided with different.
You see? He's gonna take over, isn't he? Bastard! He's gonna take over, I know he is. So, I mean, there's a really wonderful element there, isn't there? Like, basically humanity and all the mortal races of this multiverse are bred as cattle for the Makers and the Argent process, yeah? That's the point of entire realities in this metaphysics. It's not something I ever would have thought to have found in Doom, of all games, you know. Doom, which is so simple, really, mythologically and narratively, which is designed to just be like a fairly fun, mindless brawler, a first-person shooter which is just like ridiculous action set pieces and spectacle, has all of this stuff bubbling away underneath it. I kind of love that. Ah! I mean, the soul stuff, that's not good. Doom Guy doth not like that, I can tell you. Baron! Ah! Yeah, the Baron of Hell is great. I love him. Love him. But you don't see them very much in this game. There are not that many of them. Just like in the last game, really. Then again, that's probably a good thing. They are so massive and so difficult, you know? This is the speed power-up, I do believe. Which makes you really bloody fast. I do like that. That's very, very cool. Look at the architecture. Hey up! Pain Elemental! These guys are tough. They don't have to take some killing. What are these guys called? Lashers? Is that it? Aha! Gotcha! God, the Ice Bomb is so useful. It's so useful. Hey up. Doomslayer, once again. Maybe, just maybe, a teensy-weensy bit overused. I mean, he's a very cool enemy, I like him a lot. But he's initially introduced as a boss creature, and it maybe would have been nice if he'd maintained his rarity. That said, they do introduce a mythology. There is a background reason why there are so many of them, because they are mass-produced, you know? In the industry of hell. Look at this, he gets stuck and I could just shoot him. You really don't want to get too close to these guys. They will just rip you in half with that chainsaw arm. Oh, you're the last one, matey-o. Bye! Oh, no, there's you. Well, there was you. Not anymore. Ascend the Soul Spire. That's exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. We're nearly there, actually. We're nearly at the end. Very, very close, my loves. Very, very close. And this is a kind of short area. There's not much here, to be honest. A few bits and pieces. Look at that. It's so cool. It's the kind of attention to detail you'd expect to find in a game that's much slower paced, that allows you to take time to appreciate it all. You know, an RPG or something like that. The fact that they did put all this effort into it, I've got to say, is fantastic. You can tell that it's not a Bethesda game. Let's put it that way. Hello. What have we got here then? What's this? Necrovol. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. Nope, nope, where are we? Codex. Hello. This is one of the soul spires identified in the Argenta texts, built into the central columns of Necroval. Although most soul spires were linked directly to Argenta through a Hell Priest-created continuum gate, this particular one is linked to Urdak, the homeworld of the Makers. There is no continuum gate here, presumably due to the Khan Maker's natural distrust of those under her charge. The soul spires were designed by the Makers to accelerate the processing of mortal victims into Argent energy, and built in secret by Sentinel slaves under the direction of the Order Deag. This forced labour was a crucial step in fulfilling the Khan Maker's desire for Argent, as beings from Urdak are unable to cross over to Hell's dimension. That's very cool. I mean, all of this is redundant. I love the fact that it doesn't force it down your throat, so if you don't want to bother with the background, you don't have to bother with it. You can just carry on. Now, I'll show you in the next video, but I miss it here. There is behind you, in that gate there's a lovely little Easter egg. I will show you in the next video. I miss it here.
This is raw Argent energy. The suffering on Earth, the bloodshed, all of it. For this.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Once the soul is extracted, the husk of the human body will over time transform into the demons you fight now.
Oh, look at
The
this.
soul that remains will power their world. The essence of hell.
So brilliant. I just love this stuff. It's so epic, you know? Okay, there's an empowered demon. This is a tough fight, I'm telling you. This wave is very, very tricky. Primarily because there's a bloody marauder, you know? Other than that, it's actually pretty cool. You'd expect this chamber to be massively guarded. It's like the heart of the operation, you know? I don't mind how difficult the waves are. That is an arch vial, I do believe. There's the empowered demon. Let's get rid of him. But yeah, this throws an arch vial at you alongside a marauder, which is so bloody hard. Also, they're empowered. There's a buff totem. It's so difficult, this particular wave. I mean, another thing I don't like about the Marauder is the fact that he is bafflingly immune to some of your super weapons like the BFG. Doesn't make any sense. Like, within the background, it doesn't make sense. The only reason that exists is to force you to fight it in a particular way. It narrows down the way you fight the creature, and I don't like that. I think you should be allowed to tackle it in lots of different ways, like you can with the other enemies, yeah? And how the game has been encouraging you to engage throughout. Ah, Spectre. Empowered Spectre, no less. There he is. Come here. Cool, yes, got a good one on him there. Don't let him teleport out. There. Look at the damage that appears on his body. That is amazing. I love that. Up, here he comes. Yep, he's behind me, isn't he? There he is. He's gonna... Yeah, he's gonna kill us. So, my loves, what we will do is we will complete this particular wave next time, and I will show you the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful little Easter egg that exists that I missed this first time round. It's the kind of Easter egg that you will only get if you know a little bit about the previous Doom games. That's all I'll say. That's all. Look at this. This is one of the more annoying Marauder fights, because look, you've got all this happening around you and you just cannot focus on him. It's next to impossible. The only way I found out of doing this is not to cheat, but to chintz it a little bit. Anyway, you'll see that next time, my loves. Until then, bye-bye! Yeah. Shit.